It is 2 in the morning and the only light in your room is the cold blue glow of your smartphone screen. You are exhausted from a long day of work or perhaps a series of small failures that have left a heavy knot in your chest. Your thumb moves with a mind of its own, scrolling through an endless stream of sleek products, vibrant colors, and limited time offers. Then you see it. It is an item you did not know existed 5 minutes ago, and yet suddenly it feels like the missing piece of your entire life. Your heart rate quickens. A strange warm sensation washes over your brain. You click the Buy Now button. For a split second you feel powerful. You feel successful. You feel whole. But as soon as the confirmation email hits your inbox, that warmth vanishes, replaced by a cold, sinking pit in your stomach. You look around your room and see the ghosts of a dozen other impulse buys that promise the same happiness but now sit covered in dust. Why do we keep doing this to ourselves? Why does a rational human being with bills to pay and a future to build choose to trade their hard-earned security for a cardboard box, filled with something they will forget by next Tuesday? If you think this is just a lack of willpower, or a sign that you are simply bad with money, you are mistaken. You are actually a victim of a sophisticated biological hijacking. Your brain is not broken, it is being played like a finely tuned instrument by some of the most powerful forces in human evolutionary history. In the next few minutes, we are going to peel back the layers of your own subconscious to reveal the hidden mechanics of the shopping monster. We will explore the 3 specific types of shoppers that nearly everyone falls into, and I will show you why your brain often confuses a new pair of shoes with a survival necessity. More importantly, I will reveal the one psychological twist that turns your biggest financial weakness into your greatest mental strength. You are about to see your bank account, your closet, and your own mind in a way you never thought possible. This is not just a video about spending money. This is a manual for taking back your freedom from the chemical puppet masters inside your skull. Let us begin the journey into the secret science of why we buy what we do not need. To understand why your brain betrays you at the checkout counter, we first have to look at the invisible architect of your desires, a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Most people think dopamine is the chemical of pleasure, the reward you get when you finally hold that new gadget in your hands. But science tells a much more haunting story. Dopamine is actually the chemical of anticipation. It is the molecule of more. When you are scrolling through a website and see a beautiful watch or a perfect pair of boots, your brain releases a flood of dopamine. Not because you have the item, but because you are hunting for it. Your ancestors used this same chemical to track prey across the savannah for days. Today, you use it to track a 20% discount across 5 different browser tabs. This is the biological glitch that retailers exploit. They know that the moment you click that purchase button, your dopamine levels are at their absolute peak. The hunt is over. But here is the cruel part. The second that transaction is confirmed, your dopamine levels start to crash. By the time the package actually arrives at your door 3 days later, the chemical high is long gone. This is why the box sitting on your porch often feels less like a treasure and more like a burden. You are no longer the hunter. You are just a person with less money and more clutter. This cycle creates a phenomenon known as the hedonic treadmill. You run faster and spend more, but your level of happiness stays exactly the same. It is like drinking salt water to quench your thirst. The more you drink, the more dehydrated your soul becomes, leading you to reach for the bottle again and again. But why can some people walk away while you feel paralyzed by the urge to buy? It comes down to a battle inside your skull between 2 very different regions. In the back of your brain sits the ventral striatum, an ancient impulsive part of you that only cares about immediate gratification. It wants the shiny thing and it wants it right now. In the front, just behind your forehead, is the prefrontal cortex. This is the rational adult of the brain. It is responsible for long-term planning logic and self-control. It is the part of you that says, we need to save for retirement or pay the electricity bill. In a healthy state, the prefrontal cortex acts like a set of brakes on a car. But these breaks are fragile. When you are tired, stressed, or lonely, your prefrontal cortex loses its power. It literally runs out of fuel. This is why most impulsive shopping happens late at night or after a grueling day at the office. Your rational mind is exhausted and has gone to sleep, leaving the impulsive, ancient part of your brain in total control of the steering wheel. The retailers know this. That is why shopping apps are designed to be frictionless with one-click payments and saved credit card info. They want to make sure you can finish the transaction before your rational mind has a chance to wake up and stop you. Now let us look at the first group of people caught in this trap, the bargain hunter. If you have ever bought something you did not even like just because it was 70% off, you belong to this category. The psychology here is fascinating. You are not actually buying a product, you are buying the feeling of winning. Economists call this transactional utility. Your brain perceives the difference between the original price and the sale price as a direct gain, almost as if the store is handing you cash. You feel like you are outsmarting the system. I remember a time when I bought a high-end espresso machine despite not even drinking coffee. Simply because it was a once-in-a-lifetime deal, I felt like a genius for 10 minutes. And then I spent 3 years looking at that machine taking up space on my counter, a constant monument to my own psychological frailty. The bargain hunter is addicted to the thrill of the steal, but they forget that spending $50 to save $50 is still spending $50. But there is a second type that is much more common in our lonely modern world, the void filler. For this person, shopping is not about the items or the deals, it is about emotional regulation. We call it retail therapy, but a more accurate term would be retail anesthesia. When you feel a sense of inadequacy, rejection, or boredom, your brain experiences it as actual physical pain. Buying something new provides a temporary spike in status and a sense of control. For a few minutes, as you choose the color and the size, you are the master of your universe. You're filling a hole in your heart with objects, hoping that if you just stack enough things inside that emptiness, the ache will finally stop. But objects are hollow. They have no shelf life for the soul. The void filler often finds themselves surrounded by luxury but feeling more bankrupt than ever because they are trying to solve a spiritual problem with a material solution. However, the third type is perhaps the most subtle and dangerous of all, the ideal self-buyer. This is the person who buys a high-tech yoga mat but never goes to a class. Or the person who buys a stack of dense philosophy books that stay shrink-wrapped on the shelf. You are not buying these things for who you are today. You are buying them for the person you wish you were. Your brain is tricked into thinking that by owning the tools of a certain lifestyle, you have already achieved the lifestyle itself. It is much easier to buy a set of expensive running shoes than it is to actually go for a run at 5 in the morning. The act of purchasing gives you a tiny fake version of the pride that comes from the actual hard work. You are essentially decorating a house that no one lives in. You are surrounding yourself with the props of a successful life, while the actual protagonist is still sitting on the couch scrolling for the next prop. This is where the true cost of our addiction lies. It is not just the money, it is the stolen potential of who we could actually become. If we stopped buying the fantasy and started doing the work. But do not lose hope, because the way out of this maze is not through more willpower. It is through a radical shift in how you define your own value, a shift we are about to explore in the final part of this journey. So, how do we stop this cycle before it empties our bank accounts and our souls? The answer lies in a radical reframe of why your brain does this in the first place. You must realize that your urge to shop is not a sign of greed or weakness. It is actually an ancient survival instinct that has been hijacked by the modern world. Millions of years ago, the humans who survived were the ones who gathered the most resources. To your primitive brain, a full closet feels like a stocked pantry in the middle of a harsh winter. Your brain is simply trying to keep you safe and give you the best chance at life. But in a world of infinite digital products, that survival instinct has turned into a self-destructive loop. Once you recognize that your desire for that new gadget is just a confused survival signal, you can start to talk back to it. You can show your brain that true security comes from the numbers in your savings account, not the items on your shelf. The most powerful tool you have to break this chemical spell is the 72-hour rule. When you feel that heat in your chest and that dopamine rush telling you to buy something, wait. Give your prefrontal cortex time to wake up. Walk away from the screen. In 72 hours, the chemical storm in your head will have settled. You will often look back at that open browser tab and wonder what you were thinking. You will see the item for what it truly is, just plastic, metal or fabric that cannot actually change who you are. This is the moment of true power. This is where you move from being a biological puppet to a conscious creator of your own life. Ask yourself this question tonight. Are you owning your things, or are your things owning you? Are you spending your life force, which is your time and your work, to collect props for a life you are too busy or too tired to actually live? Every dollar you spend on something you do not need is an hour of your freedom you will never get back. You are trading your future autonomy for a temporary distraction. But it does not have to be this way. You can choose to invest in experiences that actually nourish your soul, or in the peace of mind that comes from being debt-free. You have the power to rewrite your relationship with money starting right now, but you must stay vigilant. Because the world is designed to keep you in that dopamine loop. In fact, there is an even darker side to this psychological manipulation that most people never see. It involves a specific technique used by social media companies and luxury brands to make you feel inferior. The moment you put your phone down, if you think your shopping habit is just about your own brain, you're only seeing half the picture. In my next video, I'm going to expose the invisible social engineering tactics that are being used to drain your bank account without you ever realizing it. You do not want to miss that one, because once you see the strings, you can never be a puppet again. Make sure you are subscribed and have your notifications on. Your value is not found in what you own, but in who you are becoming.